All right, everyone, we've said it once, we've said it twice, we've said it a million times. The truth shall always set you free. This is Tim, this is Get Off My Lawn, the mad ramblings of a Gen Xer. Want to talk about the alien invasion? Well, it's not really an alien invasion. I had an epiphany the other night because I was watching the disaster of Kamala Harris. And I was reading about the fawning of the Time magazine article over Kamala Harris, even though she never gave an interview to the article itself. And I thought to myself, we are literally, and I briefly touched upon this a couple days ago. We are literally in the Twilight Zone. I'm a big Twilight Zone guy. I love the old Rod Sterling stuff. Never really got into the stuff that they had like in the 80s and the 90s, and even the ones that they have currently now in the 2000s. Those episodes, but I was always into, just wondering what if. Wondering if there was another dimension of sight and sound. Wondering if there was something else out there. Some kind of entity, some kind of existence that is looking down upon us and saying, damn, these motherfuckers are fucked up. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Because, and I think if I take myself and I step outside myself and I wonder if I am an alien entity, and I am looking down and I am tuning into the radio stations and I'm tuning into everything. And I probably have been scoping out Earth for a while now. And I see the lunacy of you have a presidential candidate who was so disliked as a vice president, but now so loved as a president candidate, whose policies were a complete contradiction of everything that she's saying now. And you think about what she said in the 2019 for the 2020 race, and you kind of just scratch your head. And then I laugh because there was an article that now the Harris campaign just doesn't care at all. They're changing headlines. They are posting articles on their website, and they're literally changing the headline to give it a more positive spin towards the candidate Kamala Harris. This woman has literally done nothing. This woman who Judge Joe Brown said, when she didn't get her way back in San Francisco, she would just lift up her skirt. As he put it, she would hike up her skirt. Willie Brown talks about how she was so good in bed that he gave her a BMW, gave her more money than anyone else in the prosecutor's office over in San Francisco, that was her political career, that she's so vaptuous that there's nothing there. And if I was an alien species and I was looking down on this and I was monitoring these transmissions over the years, I'd be like, wow, this place has really gone to shit. There are some problems here. I was never a person that believed in aliens, believed in extraterrestrials. I was never one of those guys. I believe, what's weird? I believe in Bigfoot. I believe in the Loch Ness Monster because I think those are more, those are more possibilities because of the fact that I don't think Bigfoot is the missing link. I do think he's a certain type of genus in the ape family, or maybe even the bear family. So I think there's always a possibility of a species going undetected, especially in the vast wilderness in certain areas, especially in North America and especially some other countries that we just can't thoroughly go through and examine. So there's always that possibility that there is some type of creature out there that has gone undiscovered all these years. There is that possibility. But to believe that there is another form of life out in the cosmos that is of the same intelligence of ours, if not more, that always kind of just stuck in my craw a little bit. But then I was thinking about it, and I had an experience. I'm going to talk about the experience in a minute, but then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, to think otherwise, that's kind of weird too. Because what makes you think that we are the only intelligent species? What would make you think that there would not be some other form of life? And I think it would be short-sighted and short-minded to think that there isn't something else out there. And there isn't some other form of life that has greater intelligence and greater technology than we do. I've talked about this before. I live in the middle of fucking nowhere. I mean, I literally live in the middle of nowhere. I love that. I had a friend and we went to our local Walmart, and we were driving to the Walmart, and I was jokingly saying, look, see, man, we're in town. And he looked at me and goes, Tim, your Walmart is still in the middle of fucking nowhere. And we have a fairly large backyard, and it overlooks a field, then it overlooks another field, then it goes, and then there's a farm behind us. And I think it was in February of actually this year, I was out walking the dogs, and I saw this parked car on the road between our property and the next property. And the car had its headlights on. It was kind of dusk, so I didn't think anything of it, but the car still had its headlights on. And then as I was walking the dog through the fields, I turned back to the house, and I started walking again. I look over the field again. That car is still there with its lights on. And there's 5 lights above the farmhouse. Now, there's no airport. There's no other types of structures that these lights could be hanging from. They were just 5 individual lights in a straight line that were basically in the distance above the vehicle. And I really thought that was weird because the lights didn't move. There was no noise. There was no sound. They weren't helicopters. They weren't some kind of crop duster. The lights were just there. And I went inside. The lights were still there. I looked out the window again, like 20, 30 minutes later. The lights were gone, but the car was still there with the lights on. And again, I didn't think anything of it until the next morning. I walk out the next morning. The car is still there. And all of a sudden, in the field and around the vehicle, you see these white panel vans and military-style vehicles surrounding the car, surrounding the vehicle itself. And I laughed because I was looking at it and I was like, well, that's just kind of fucking weird. Because there was nothing on the radio, there was nothing on the television, there was nothing on the internet, and they had literally closed off the entire road. So normally when the police close off a large section of the road like that, they usually tell you, we're closing this down because of X. And it was just weird because you see these guys, full military garb, rifles slung, and they're all scoped around this vehicle. And as quickly as they got there, they were gone. Now, we had speculated for a long period of time that someone did something in that field. There was something happened in that car, and then we also suspected maybe it was a suicide or something, and they were just trying to, go through everything. But then it was weird because, like, well, why was there military personnel there? Why were these armored vehicles, literally armored vehicles there, and all these white panel vans? And we never got any explanation of what happened. A few weeks later, my wife and my one son are driving down the street, again through the backwoods, and they're looking over the tree line, and there's 5 lights again. And my wife looks at my son and says, "You see those lights?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's a UFO." He goes, "It's just what Dad described being in our backyard." And I just thought that, again, and these sightings, and we weren't the only ones to see this. So these sightings were within a period of time. So it kind of gave me this pause that, maybe there is something else out there. You also see all these videos coming from military personnel. The Vegas video freaked me out a little bit, where the police actually captured. If for those that do not know, there is these gentlemen that thought an alien was in their backyard, and as the police are discussing or speaking with the individuals, some type of object streaks across the sky, and it looks like it crashes. And then there's video of them going through their backyard, and evidently I don't see it, but evidently at one point in the corner of the video, there's some videologists that are sitting there and go, "Look, you can see an alien right there." I don't see it, but it's there. And then you also have this linear history of aliens, even going back to Egypt and Rome, where you see these drawings of people with the small bodies, large heads, and the typical alien itself. So there is a line in history that you think to yourself, well, you look at the modern technology, not even modern technology, but you look at the technology needed to build the pyramids, to do the things that they did, and you think, can slave labor, and actually it was a misnomer that slave labor built the pyramids, which I always thought was funny. I learned that in history in college, that the pyramids itself were actually built by skilled workers. It wasn't really slave labor, because you always have Charlton Heston and the 10 Commandments, "Let my people go." That was always that movie you watched at Easter. And I laughed though, because Charlton Heston is Moses to the extreme. He's pimp Moses. Because he's got the loincloth, he's got the oiled up body, the tan, At one point, he's with his wife as they're shepherding, and the wife sees something in the distance, and Charlton Heston Moses looks at her and goes, "Your eyes are as beautiful as they are sharp." I was like, damn. Sitting there looking talking about my pimp juice. I don't know how I got into fucking Moses. I shouldn't use the F word in Moses, but you have to think, were these pyramids built by some other entities besides the Romans and the Egyptians and Mesopotamians and all those fun people? You gotta pause and think about it, because you could see in their writings, in their drawings, you could see potentially what could be considered alien life forms. And I have to think at times, if an alien was going to make an appearance, if there was going to be first contact, and not the bad Charlie Sheen movie. If there was going to be first contact, if there was going to be at a moment in time or an event that they would come in and make their presence known, I would think it would have to be around now. It had to be before November. Because the idiocy of a majority of the population, it basically just dumbfounds me that they could fall for a false idol. And she's not even a false idol. She is what they don't let her talk. We're 24 days in. She's still giving a press conference. Anytime she talks off the cuff, she sounds like a moron. But you would have to think that they would pick a moment in time. The aliens, that is. We'll call him Bob. What's up, Bob the alien? We'll call him Bob the alien. When Bob the alien finally comes down and makes his presence known. Hope it's not like the old 80s TV show or old 80s movies with Mark Singer V. I don't want a fucking reptile, even though I got the Godzilla shirt on. Don't want a reptile. Unsolicited opinion: Godzilla -1. It's a movie, Japanese movie. You got to read it. It's got freaking subtitles. You got to read it. But as a movie aficionado, that movie was fucking awesome. The special effects, the story itself, I didn't mind reading it as much. It's Godzilla -1, and it kind of harkened back and paid homage to the early 50s and 60s Godzilla's movies, but with better graphics and better animation. Not animation, but better special effects, we'll say. And it was kind of an interesting movie. It was kind of slow in the beginning. You're kind of thinking, where the hell is this fucking going? But that's why I'm wearing the Godzilla. That's why I'm wearing the Godzilla shirt today. We're giving homage to the great one, to the Godzilla. But I would think that if world history was about to be made in a bad way, we talked about I think they were from the Balkans, the Nostradamus of the Balkans, how she predicted certain things, and she predicted the end of Europe in 2025, basically great devastation in Europe. She's predicted other things, evidently. And I've always said this before, that if you go down this Kamala Harris path, you are going to be heading towards World War III. I do not think that Putin would stop from using any type of limited nuclear exchange in Ukraine. I think the same thing with Iran itself and Israel. I think they understand the fact that we would not be strong enough or have the fortitude as a government to stand up to them and do what needs to be done. Same thing with Xi Jinping in Taiwan. I would think that to stop our own destruction, that Bob the alien may come down and make an appearance sometime in October. I'm predicting October 31st, 2024. Because sometimes you need an intervention. You need, I mean, like I've said this before, it just drives me crazy. You see these older women and younger women like, I have to vote for Mumala because she's like the mother I never had. She's going to mother us all. We don't need a mother. We need a swift kick in the ass. You could sit there and talk about how inflation has gone down. The rate of inflation has gone down. Inflation has not gone down. That's the first thing that we need to discuss. The rate of inflation has gone down, not inflation. We still have stagflation. Inflation is not transitory here, like we were told. We have an energy crisis in our own country because we keep tapping into our strategic reserve, which is at its lowest level since the 70s when we first started using it, first started saving oil. We have 3 proxy wars going on. We have a candidate who's so left and so socialist driven. You can go back and watch years and videos. I don't care what she tells you now. Her website shows nothing. And when it does show something, she just changes it to revise history. We have this revisionist history, and we're going down this path of destruction. And I think there's something that has to be major that turns around and stops this from happening. And I think that's going to be Bob the Alien. He's going to come. He's going to make his appearance October 31st, 2024. He is going to stop and say, I am voting Trump. Because it's the only way we can save this disaster. We can save this mess. If you have a Democratic-controlled House, Senate, and executive branch, we're fucked. The tax credits are going to expire. Even though, and I love it because she was so for not taxing tips and those types of wages, that she was the deciding vote back in 2023 to tax federal wages for tips. Go to the IRS website. That's how much she was against it. She's so much against it that she was the deciding vote for it. I'm not joking, people. You need to figure it out. You need to start using. I'm a registered independent. I've talked about this before. I voted for Bill twice. I'm not ashamed to say that. I couldn't have voted for Obama. Couldn't vote for Hillary, but I voted for Bill Clinton twice because I figured he was the lesser of two evils. In the second term, I figured he became more of a centralist, and he really did reach across the aisle. He balanced the budget. We had a surplus. Things were well under Clinton. Things were good under Bush, the second. Things fell apart under Obama. Obama was some of the worst 8 years that we ever had financially in my family. And it wasn't until Trump came around that we were able to buy our dream house at this crazy low interest rate, at this great price. It wasn't until Trump came that we were able to save money, take vacations, not have to worry week to week, day to day. But as soon as Biden came into office, you have inflation and some items is over 22%. There was a woman on the radio today who was like, I can't even afford a $5 bell pepper that used to be $2. And we're blaming corporate greed. But when we've talked about this before, and when we let the tax cuts expire and we've raised the corporate tax, that gets passed on to the consumer. Because believe it or not, kiddies, the corporations are here to make money. That's what they're here for. I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but they are here to make money. And they're here to employ and create jobs and salaries and health benefits, which you're going to need to worry about then because she's already talked about socialized medicine 1 million times. Be smart, people. Do your own research. Don't fall for this media love affair. This Time magazine article makes it look, oh my God, it's going to be Kamala lot. But that was from the New Yorker. But there's an article about her where they never even interviewed her. That's the crazy and lunacy that we live in. I welcome our alien overlords, Bob the Alien. See you December 31st. And as we always say, the truth shall always set you free. This is Dennis Kettleman along the mad realms of Gen Xer. And I'm out of here.